Hello there, I am Jamesboy Imani. I'm going to share about letting God's will be done. In the book of Matthew chapter 26 verse 36 to 46, we see the story where Jesus goes to a place called Gethsemane with his closest disciples, James, John and Peter, and here he goes to pray. He was about to get crucified, and in his spirit he was so disturbed because he could see it. And during this prayer, he actually requested, if possible, God to let this cup of suffering pass so that he does not go through the pain and suffering. As he prayed, we see him say, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup of suffering from me." But then later, he remembers that this suffering he was going to go through had a bigger purpose, and we all know that suffering was meant to redeem us and save us, the sinners, from sin. And after that realization, he now changes his words and says, "Yet not my will, but your will be done." He meant, let God's will take over his personal will. As a child of God, when you decide to get transformed and be born again, it means you're surrendering your will to God's will. God knows the perfect plan. God can see the beginning from the end. So when you choose to follow God's will, is to trust him to help you make the decisions right now that will position you for success in the coming unknown future. With God as the captain of your life, you are guaranteed of a good life to come and successful results. But when you choose to put God on the side, there are many consequences and troubles that await you ahead that later you will come and see why God was warning you before. Proverbs chapter 19 verse 21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." You have to trust God to help you make decisions. Do not move by your own before consulting God or being sure about God's heart concerning that issue. For example, it could be relationship, the person you're going to get married to. It could be the kind of work you're supposed to do. It could be the place you're going to live. If you do not consult God, then you're going in this thing alone. And there you will suffer. And that's what the devil does. The devil is a professional at diverting us and confusing us to go the wrong direction from the will of God. But if you're a child of God, you have to follow God's will. And how do you know God's will? You know God's will by reading his word, which is the Bible. In the Bible, God clearly states all the instructions and principles that he has set for you, that if you follow, you benefit the promises as a result. So anything that is against the word of God is definitely against his will. The most sure way, the most accurate way to hear God is through his word, where he speaks in the Bible. That's where you get full clarity. Many of the people who have suffered in this life are those that chose to be rebellious to the instructions of God. If you obey his word, you benefit. If you don't obey his word, you suffer. So the decision is actually in your hands because God gives you a free will. And there's what we call the permissible will of God and the perfect will of God. Permissible is where it is not sinful to make that decision, but still it's not the best decision that God would have desired for you. For example, you have a free will to marry the person you wish. But again, God also has that perfect kind of person that he wishes you to marry. So you can decide to say, I'm not going to marry according to God's perfect desire. That is permissible and it's not sinful. But you face the consequences of your decisions here on earth. A good Christian prefers to know God's heart on the perfect will in every matter. Choose to hear the voice of God. Choose to see the direction that God is calling you. Make that decision right now and say, from today on, I shall live by the will of God. I shall surrender my personal will, my desires, my soul to God. And I will trust him that wherever he takes me, wherever he leads me, even if it seems painful, even if it doesn't seem pleasant right now, that in the end it is for my good, because I know that God has only the best plans for me. God can never disappoint you. God's will is for you to succeed, for you to prosper, for you to live in this life victoriously.